Last night I watched Tucker Carlson's interview of Tony Bobulinski. I thought it was a bombshell. I learned facts I didn't know. I learned facts that NPR didn't want me to know. I learned facts that Twitter and Facebook didn't want me to know. You wouldn't know about last night's interview if you were reading today's New York Times or CNN, because the story has been suppressed, but not on the Der Show. Here you're going to hear everything. Here the chips may fall where they may. Here you're going to get a nonpartisan analysis of every single fact that may be relevant to your vote in the 2020 election. It pains me deeply to have to come back over and over again to the allegations against Hunter Biden relating to the laptop he allegedly left at a repair shop. But this program, The Der Show, is devoted to following the truth wherever it may take us. We are not NPR, which simply said we're not going to follow this story. We are not Twitter. We are not Facebook that banned the New York Post from tweeting or reporting on the story. I like Joe Biden. I've known Joe Biden. I think he is an honorable man. I do not believe he is corrupt. I hope that the story will turn out not to be true, but I will not simply drop the story because it might be in the political interests of a party, I'm a liberal Democrat, that I have supported for years, or a candidate who I personally know and like very much. No, I'm not going to let the story drop. Last night I watched Tucker Carlson. I was alternating, I have to admit, between the World Series and Tucker Carlson. And how did that manager ever take out the pitcher who was pitching? All right, we'll get back to that. That's a passion with me. But mostly I watched Tucker Carlson. And I watched him interview this guy, Tony Bobulinski. I don't know him. I don't know him from Adam. Normally, if a guy like Tony Bobulinski came on television and started to talk about how some prominent figure was corrupt, I'd flip the channel. I don't believe uncorroborated stories generally. I listen, I'm interested, but I'm skeptical. And there were some things about the story that made me wonder if it were uncorroborated, if it were just his word against a firm denial by Hunter Biden, I'd say the burden of proof hasn't been satisfied. But that's not the current situation. We have corroboration. We have a laptop. We have a laptop that apparently was turned over to the FBI. We have emails. We've seen the substance of the emails. I've read the emails. They look credible on their face. As I mentioned before, one of the emails said, let's hire David Boies and his law firm. Let's offer him a piece of the action. That sounds credible to me. The emails refer to my chairman. And one email says, my chairman is Joe Biden. Another one talks about the big man. And somebody says, the big man is Joe Biden. Look, it's very, very likely that Joe Biden didn't know anything about any of this, that perhaps his name was just being bandied around. I know that. My name has been bandied around by people on occasion. I know how it feels when somebody is misusing you in a way that helps them and you don't even know about it, or maybe peripherally aware of it. I'm hoping Joe Biden doesn't know about it and doesn't know that he was referred to as the big guy or the chairman, or maybe the people who say, no, the big guy, the chairman, all that refers to the people in China. I don't know. All I know is I want to know. And I don't want NPR to prevent me from learning the facts. I don't want Facebook and Twitter or anyone else to stop me from learning the facts. And that's true of all of you out there. You're voters. You may have voted already. You may be voters who've made up your mind, and this incident's not going to change your mind. I doubt it would change my mind unless it were tied directly to the candidate. I don't know. All I know is that we're being denied information. We're being denied facts. Yes, Tucker Carlson laid out the facts. He laid them out quite clearly. He really mostly allowed the witness to talk. We need to find out what Hunter Biden's position on this is. We need to know whether Joe Biden has any information about whether the laptop actually did or did not belong to Hunter Biden. If Joe Biden were to say categorically, look, I've spoken to my son, he tells me he never brought a laptop into a repair shop. It's not his laptop. It's all fake. It was put in there by people who want to disseminate falsehoods. I would have to give a lot of credit to that response. But when you hear no response at all, nothing, when you hear no questions being put to Joe Biden, there have been so many occasions to put questions to him. There have been the debates, the town halls, the TV interviews, 60 Minutes, all of that. Not a single question was ever put to him. Is the laptop genuine? Maybe I missed it. Maybe there have been questions put to him. If so, I don't know what his answer is. Maybe his answer will be, I don't know. And then all the newspapers, when they do occasionally mention the story, they always use adjectives and adverbs that suggest as a matter of news and fact that the story is unconfirmed, disproved, uncorroborated. I just want to take 1 minute comparing it to the allegations against me. In my case, the allegation against me was by one woman with a long history of lying, who I never met, with emails from her proving she never met me, a manuscript proving she never met me, an admission by her lawyer that she was wrong, an admission by a best friend that she was coerced into doing it, an investigation by the FBI. And the word uncorroborated, unproved has never appeared in any story about me. When the story about me appears, it's Dershowitz has been accused and categorically denies it or firmly denies it. That's not enough. Why isn't the same standard applied to the Bidens as is applied to me? I'm not running for office. I'm not trying to be president of the United States. Why are the allegations against Hunter Biden unproved, disproved, uncorroborated when there is, in fact, a laptop and emails which seem to be authentic? Why is the allegation against me not disproved or, authentic or etc. when it's been categorically disproved and there's no corroborating evidence? Why the double standard? This is not about me. I'm just using my example as a way of demonstrating how media news, we're not talking about the editorial pages now, we're talking about how the New York Times writes the story or how CNN writes the story. They always use words like unproved, uncorroborated, disproven, etc. when they talk about Hunter Biden, and never when they talk about other people, including me. We're only a week away from the election, less than that now. Most Americans have either voted or clearly made up their mind. This is not so much about the election as it is about the truth and about the role of media. Why is media not putting investigative reporters on this story? Why are they not trying to check on the validity of the laptop and of the emails? Why are they not comparing these emails with other emails? Why are they not trying to check? Why are they not trying to get information from sources that may have information? Believe me, I understand why the FBI is not commenting about it. They are doing absolutely the right thing. We don't want to get into a Hillary Clinton type situation where Comey and the FBI say, well, we're doing an investigation. No, we're not doing an investigation. Now, yes, we're doing an investigation. No, we've done the investigation, and the investigation shows that there's nothing to it. We don't think there should be a prosecution, but what you did was wrong. We don't want to repeat that horrible mistake that may have cost Hillary Clinton the election. The FBI is absolutely right in not disclosing anything about the laptop if it has the laptop in its possession. But that's not the same criteria that should be applied to the media. The media should be searching and looking and investigating and questioning and asking everybody who has any knowledge for the information they have. Look, we're all voting. We hope the election goes smoothly. We hope that one person wins decisively, so there are no court cases and there are no demonstrations and violence. We hope if there is a transition, a peaceful transition, all of that we can hope for. This has nothing to do with that. This has to do with truth, with facts, with evidence, with the role of the media. If the media today could suppress the Hunter Biden story, we don't know what else they're going to suppress. We don't know what other stories they may have that we don't even know about. Here we know about the story because of the election, because Tucker Carlson, who clearly has a point of view on the election, and Fox News, which clearly seems to have a point of view about the election, they are reporting on the story. And that's understandable. But the idea that we have partisan media, some of whom won't report the story, some of whom may over-report the story, where do we go for truth? What would Walter Cronkite do with this story today? Well, I can tell you Walter Cronkite wouldn't get a job today on any of the media because he's too fair. He's too nuanced. He's too calibrated. He's too objective. He's too nonpartisan. There's no room for Walter Cronkite today in the media because Walter Cronkite would probably look at it and say, here's the facts on one side, here are the facts on the other. You judge for yourself. I'm not telling you whether it's true or not. I'm telling you, here's the laptop. We've asked Joe Biden. Here's Joe Biden's answer. We've asked Hunter Biden. Hunter Biden has refused to answer. We've asked the lawyers. The lawyers have no commented it. Here are the facts, viewers. Now you make up your own mind. Where is Walter Cronkite when we need him? Well, I'll tell you, I'm not Walter Cronkite. I knew Walter Cronkite in the last years of his life on Martha's Vineyard. But I am going to follow Walter Cronkite's lead on the Der Show. I'm going to take the evidence wherever it leads us without regard to who it helps and who it hurts. I want to know the truth. And I know you, my viewers on the Der Show, you want to know the truth. And you're going to get it. We're going to pursue this issue and other issues until all the facts are out. Because you, the voter, the listener, the viewer, you have a right to know all the facts. And then you have a right to make up your mind and not have NPR make up its mind for you. Not have Twitter and Facebook decide what gets transmitted to you and what gets censored from you. That's what the First Amendment is all about. That's what the framers of our Constitution intended. And that's what you're going to get on the Der Show. So please, let me have your views on that. Call. Let me know what you think. Do you believe the story? Don't you believe the story? What other facts would you like to know? Who should I be asking questions to? We want to hear your views, and we'll now turn to our viewers and our listeners for your questions and comments on the Der Show. Our first call today is from David in New York.
Hey, Uncle Alan. My name is David from Borough Park.
Borough Park. Okay.
I'm a long-time listener of the Der Show. It's my favorite show. This is my first time calling the Der Show my favorite show. My question to you on the Der Show, my favorite show, is I'm an Orthodox Jew, and I'm thinking about going into the field of law. And you, as a Jew who went through the field of law, I was wondering how much anti-Semitism and other things like that, did they stop you? How did you overcome such obstacles? I look forward to hearing you address my question and all the other questions on the Der Show, my favorite show.
Well, thank you so much. I grew up in Borough Park. I loved Borough Park as a kid. When I went to law school, there was a lot of anti-Semitism. Again, I have to brag a little bit to make the point. I was first in my class at Yale Law School. I was editor-in-chief of the Yale Law Journal. I was selected to be a Supreme Court law clerk, and yet I was turned down by 32 out of 32 Wall Street firms that I try to get a summer job for. They just weren't hiring Jewish kids without famous parents from Eastern Europe who lived in Brooklyn. That was not who they were hiring. They were hiring prominent white Anglo-Saxon Protestants, and that's the way segregated law firms operated in the late 1950s and early 1960s. That stopped very quickly. Today, there is virtually no anti-Semitism among major law firms and in the law. You're going to find some of it in universities. You're going to find some of it in the media, but you're really not going to find much of it in our legal system. So I would encourage you to go to law school, use your Talmudic background as an advantage in studying law, because the Talmud and law are so very similar. So hope to see you in court someday. Our next call is from faraway Montana. Fred, what's your point?
Hey, Professor, it's Fred from Montana. I was wondering if you could talk about morality and how it's affected by the law. Isn't the law just the country's expression of morality? And if so, how can anybody make a case for a substantive due process if substantive due process denies your rights if the law just defines morality? Thank you so much. Love your podcast.
What a great question. The relationship between law and morality. I'll start with a famous exchange between Oliver Wendell Holmes and his law clerk. His law clerk came in and said, "But Mr. Justice, the opinion you've just drafted is not just, it's not moral." And Justice Holmes said, "Young man, we're not in the justice or moral business, we're in the law business." That's the cynical view. But I think others have said, and correctly, that if the law isn't consistent with morality, it won't be respected. So the law should be based on morality. But if there's a conflict between the law and morality in a democracy, the law has to prevail, especially if reasonable people disagree. Take, for example, the issue of abortion. Probably a third of Americans believe that abortion is immoral, but the Supreme Court has said that a woman has the right to choose abortion as a matter of law, that the 1/3 of the country that believes it's immoral shouldn't have control over the 2/3 of the country that think that, at least under certain circumstances, it might be moral. But the question you've asked goes to the essence of law. It's been debated since the time of Aristotle and Socrates and the Talmud and the Bible. The Bible says, "Justice, justice must you seek." That's all about morality. And so we will never resolve this issue about the relationship between morality and the law, but we have to keep asking the question. So thank you for your excellent point. For our last call, let's go to New York.
I want to know, since the Ninth Amendment says that just because it's not listed in the Constitution, that doesn't mean it's not a right. How do courts determine what other rights people have, even if there's no basis in the Constitution for them? Thank you.
Boy, I tell you, today is a day of great questions. I could teach an entire seminar on the Ninth Amendment, because the Ninth Amendment tells us so much about America. It basically says we're not the Soviet Union. In the Soviet Union, unless it's permitted, it's presumed to be prohibited. In America, it's the opposite. Unless it's specifically prohibited, it's presumed to be permitted. That's what liberty is all about. And the Ninth Amendment's about that. Ninth Amendment says there are enumerated rights in the Constitution: due process, free speech, but that doesn't mean there are only rights. We may have, for example, a right of privacy. As Louis Brandeis put it, the right to be left alone. That's not in the Constitution explicitly. The word privacy is never mentioned in the Constitution. Indeed, the word privacy wasn't commonly used at the time of the Constitution. The word security was used, and the right of the people to be secure is mentioned in the Fourth Amendment. And justices and scholars have been struggling with the Ninth Amendment for a long time. When I came to the Supreme Court as a law clerk in 1963, one of the first conversations I had with Justice Goldberg, who was then newly appointed to the court only a year earlier, he said, "Alan, we're going to figure out the Ninth Amendment during your year here. I believe the Ninth Amendment," he said, "is a very important part of the Constitution and gives me the ability to expand rights for minorities and for people who don't have access to the political processes." And so during the year, we struggled with that issue and did come up with a couple of decisions about unenumerated rights, rights that are not specifically in the Constitution, but you might imply them from the Constitution or imply them from concepts of ordered liberty. So we're still struggling with the Ninth Amendment, but what a great question. What a great bunch of questions. As I've said before, this is the Dersh Show. The only thing that's missing from Dersh is the wits from Dershowitz. And the wits are provided by my listeners. And today you proved that point. Today was a day full of wits. And I'm looking forward to more wits and more of the Dersh Show in days to come. I've been getting a lot of calls and a lot of emails thanking me for the show and telling me how much they like the show. Please Share your views on the social media, if the social media will let you. Who knows? Maybe they'll Facebook you or Twitter you and say, oh, no, you can't talk about the Dirt Show because he's talking about Hunter Biden and we don't want to talk about Hunter Biden. Well, as long as the social media is still open to you, please use it. Please tell your friends, if you like the show, to listen and to call in because I want to hear their views on the Dirt Show. Please call 24/7. The number is 216-710-0050. Keep your comments short and to the point. Again, the number for you to call 24/7 is 216-710-0050. Hard questions, criticisms, everything's fine. Just keep your questions short and I'll answer them all on the Dirt Show.